Hey friends, Julie Goen here again. I wanted to point to this beautiful piece of artwork behind me that is pretty much the best backdrop in my house for videos. I've had some people ask about it, where I got it, and I am proud to say that a client gave it to me a few years ago when he moved from Rochester to Baltimore. Dwight Myers, and you can look him up online. It's Dwight Pours is the name of his YouTube channel, and he makes these beautiful pieces of artwork by pouring paint all over a canvas. It's really cool to watch. So have to give a shout out to Dwight. Thanks for my great backdrop. So today I wanted to get into part 2 of the conversation we started about a week and a half ago about escalation clauses. And if you haven't seen that video, please go back and watch. It's a great overview of what escalation clauses are, why would anyone use one, and it's from a buyer's perspective. So if you're a buyer in this market, I hope that you're familiar with escalation clauses. You should be. You should probably be writing them if you're competing on homes. So today, let's talk about from a seller's standpoint and a few things to know, a couple tips, and how to handle them. And I want to start out by saying this is a general conversation. There are so many variables that go into offers as they come in, and especially when you're dealing with multiple offers, which we're so used to right now over the past several years in this market. There are a million different ways that things can go. So tip number 1, please, when you're interviewing agents to list your home and to work with in the sale of your home, make sure you have someone that knows what they're doing. Make sure that you have someone who's very familiar with escalation clauses, how they work, how they can be a benefit to you, and can really talk you through the whole process and how to handle them as they come in. Now, you want to have those conversations because if you receive multiple offers on your property, you're most likely going to get one with an escalation clause or all of them with escalation clauses. So please make sure you're working with an agent who knows what they're doing. This is crucial. This is a huge financial commitment, signing an offer on your home. You could be leaving a lot of money on the table if you're working with someone who isn't familiar or doesn't have a lot of experience. So number 1 tip, your agent should know what they're doing. They should be able to talk you through it, and they should really be able to explain it to you so that it's easy to understand. Okay, so that being said, let's say that you have an agent that knows what they're doing. They're able to talk you through it. So I want to give you a scenario, a very, very simplistic scenario on how an escalation clause will work. So let's pretend you list your house on the market for $300,000. And you have a lot of showings, you start to receive offers coming in, and you're sitting down with your agent reviewing offers. Let's say you only have 2 offers on your house. One person, offer A, is $320. Okay, no escalation clause, they just offered you $320. Offer B comes in with an escalation clause. They write up their offer and they say, we want to offer, say, $310, but reflecting back onto my past video, you'll remember, buyer will pay $5,000 more than next highest offer up to a maximum net to seller of, let's say, $350. So buyer A is at $320, buyer B has an escalation clause that goes up to $350, but they're going to beat the next highest offer by $5,000. Well, in that situation, buyer B would be at $325, right? Now we're assuming that all of the other terms and conditions of the offers are the exact same. The financing is the same, the closing date, all of the other important things are the same. Because if those things are not the same, then you really have to weigh out each and every single term and condition. But assuming everything's the same and you're only looking at price, buyer B has the higher offer. Okay, now what happens when you have multiple escalation clauses? Let's say you have 10, 15, 20 offers. My personal record is 41 offers on a house. It's a little overwhelming. It can be a little confusing, and that's why, back to my tip number 1, you want to work with someone who knows what they're doing and can kind of sort it out, make it very easy to understand. And I won't go into every single possible scenario and how you can work with them, But multiple escalation clauses will trigger the next one and the next one, where eventually you end up with whoever is going to go the highest, right, and beat out whatever other offer is kind of second to that. And then that would be their purchase price. And again, making sure all the other terms and conditions are the same, which on 10, 20, 30 offers, they're not. Every term and condition is different. So you really have to break it down. When I'm working with sellers with multiple offers, with multiple escalation clauses, what we'll do is we'll go through every single offer, all of them, 41 of them, make sure that we are sorting it down, kind of paring it down to, we'll do one, go through and we'll kind of cross out a few that are not so great. Then we'll go through again and we'll kind of boil it down to the last final few. And usually those final few are very, very good offers. They're all super strong, and it kind of gets down to the nitty gritty on which one are you going to accept. Okay, so back to point number one. You really want to work with an agent who knows what they're doing and can handle the situation. Point number two I want to make, please have these conversations up front when you're meeting with agents for the first time, when you're interviewing agents, and even when you're sitting down and signing listing paperwork and you're going through the marketing plan, have these conversations up front. Most sellers that list their house on the market are a little bit nervous. They're not sure what to expect. And when the day comes that they sit down and they go through, even if it's just a handful of offers, they're a little stressed out, they're a little nervous. Even if it's all good news, it can be overwhelming. That's not the time where you want to start a conversation about escalation clauses. You should already have that conversation, well understood at that point. So that's number two. Please have these conversations up front. Point number three has to do with an appraisal. So if you go back several weeks back, I did another video on appraisals. Please look at that because that's a great video about what happens if there's an appraisal gap. This is something to be very aware of as a seller. And again, have those conversations up front. Let's say you list your house for $300,000, you receive 10, 15, 20 offers, whatever it is, and you end up accepting an offer for $400,000 or $420,000 or whatever, which is not really too far-fetched right now. What happens if the house doesn't appraise for that high number? Now, if it's a cash offer, no problem. That they doesn't have to appraise. There's no appraisal. But if the buyer is getting financing and an appraiser is coming through, and you had listed the house at $300,000 for a reason, you have comps, and you think the house is going to comp out and appraise around the $300,000, and someone's willing to pay $400,000 for the house, it probably won't appraise. So who's going to make up the difference if the house appraises for $350,000 or $375,000? Another conversation you want to have with your agent up front. And when you do accept an offer, if you do accept that high offer for $400,000 or $420,000, you want to get something in writing, discussing and clarifying who will pay the difference if there is an appraisal gap. Okay, this is a really huge deal. If there's nothing in writing and the buyer can't cover it, guess who they're going to come to ask them to cover it? The seller. They're going to ask the seller to lower the purchase price to that lower number, whatever it appraises at, so the buyer can move forward. Now, no seller wants to do that. So in this market, in this competitive market where you're receiving many offers, many very good offers on homes, appraisal needs to be discussed and handled and sorted out when you sign an offer. So those are your 3 tips on sellers with escalation clauses. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty about every single way to write up an escalation clause and which one beats which one. That is a conversation to have with your listing agent, and hopefully you'll be in a position as a seller to be having those conversations. If the house is priced right, if it's in good shape and it shows well, you probably will be receiving multiple offers. So if you have any other questions on escalation clauses, on a particular situation, or you want to hear more, you know where to find me. Bye.